I want to be the strongest. I want to be number one. I want them to see me. Kasuki, Bakugo. We live in a culture obsessed with being special, exceptional, unforgettable. We measure our worth in comparisons, in rankings, in who we've surpassed, and who we've failed to catch up to. But what if that constant hunger to be more isn't drive? What if it's pain? This video is about inferiority. Not the obvious kind, not failure or humiliation, but the quiet kind. It's the kind that hides behind ambition, behind perfectionism. It's behind the desperate need to be impressive, just to feel safe. It's a feeling Alfred Adler, the lesser-known founding father of depth psychology, spent his life studying, while Freud was fixated on repression and Jung explored the unconscious. Adler asked a quieter, simpler question: what happens to a child who feels small in a world that demands greatness? In this episode of Threads of Self, we'll explore how anime captures the inner war between inferiority and overcompensation, between the need to be seen and the fear that we're not enough as we are. We'll talk about Bakugo, Killua, Todoroki, Tanjiro, and Midoriya, and how they reflect different psychological responses to feeling inadequate. Some rage, some retreat, some chase perfection so fast they forget they're still bleeding. This isn't just about anime. It's about the part of you that believes you have to earn your worth, the part that doesn't feel good unless it's better. And maybe, by the end, you'll see, you don't need to be the best to be whole. You just need to stop running from who you already are. Adler once wrote, "To be human is to feel inferior." But what turns that normal feeling into a complex is what happens after. The inferiority complex doesn't begin with weakness. It begins with how weakness is met. A child cries, is told to toughen up. A child stumbles, is told to be better. A child reaches out. Hey, the world doesn't reach back. In anime, these early scripts are everywhere, but not always in tragedy. Sometimes they're written into the unspoken expectations a child learns to live under. Take Todoroki Shoto from My Hero Academia. His father, Endeavor, doesn't want a son. He wants a symbol, the culmination of strength, bred to surpass all might. From the moment Todoroki can walk, he's not raised. He's refined. His feelings don't matter. His body is trained. His pain is dismissed. So Todoroki does what many children do. He dissociates from half of himself, rejects his fire, suppresses the parts that remind him of his father. He tries to be good by being cold, controlled, unfeeling, but underneath, he's burning. This is Adler's complex at work. A child made to feel inadequate doesn't just shrink, they overcorrect. They become perfectionistic, emotionless, hyper-disciplined, because if they can't be loved as they are, they'll become someone who deserves to be. And here's the tragedy. Even if they succeed, it never feels like enough. Because it wasn't about success. It was about self-worth. Kuko Katsuki is the opposite side of the same coin. Where Todoroki froze, Bakugo exploded. Where Todoroki silenced his feelings, Bakugo made us louder. But both are running from the same ghost. If I'm not the best, what am I? Kugo's inferiority isn't obvious. He starts as top of his class. Quote, his rage isn't confidence, it's desperation. He taunts others because he's terrified of being surpassed. He pushes Midoriya away because he hates the kindness in him, a kindness he learned to view as weakness. But deep down, he knows. The reason Midoriya keeps rising isn't because he's stronger, it's because he's whole. Adler believed that inferiority isn't bad. It's a signal, a signpost toward growth. But when it festers in silence, when we're shamed for not being enough, it doesn't motivate us, it breaks us. In anime, we see this fracture clearly in Killua, Zoldyck. Born into a family of assassins, Killua is groomed to be deadly, efficient, detached, and he's good at it. But inside, he's terrified. His inferiority shows in his self-talk. I'm not good enough to be Gon's friend, okay? And how he expects to be abandoned, and how he always assumes he's the problem, okay? He fears love, okay? He fears love because to be loved is to be seen, and he's convinced what's inside isn't worthy. These characters don't lack power, they lack permission. Permission to be messy, vulnerable, to not always be extraordinary in your life. This may not look like superpowers. It might look like overachieving perfectionism, always saying yes. It might look like burnout, followed by shame, and then doubling down again, trying harder, doing more, being better. Because deep down, you're still trying to prove you deserve to exist. But here's what Adler believed. The solution isn't power. It's belonging, not as someone impressive, but as someone human. That's where healing begins. If the inferiority complex is the wound, then overcompensation is the armor. And the tragedy is, the armor works, earns praise, medals, success, but it slowly strangles the self beneath it. Look at Midoriya Izuku in many ways. He's the embodiment of Adler's masculine protest, the tendency to overcompensate for perceived weakness by striving to be stronger, better, invincible. He's born without a quirk, powerless in a world that worships strength, but rather than give up, he studies obsessively, pushes his body past its limit. He breaks bones, literally, to prove he belongs. We admire him, cheer for him, but we rarely stop to ask, why does a child feel the need to destroy himself to be worthy of saving others? Midoriya's kindness is real, but it's also compulsive. He saves because he must, because if he doesn't, what is he? This is the hidden cost of overcompensation. It replaces authenticity with performance. Even when we win, we don't feel it, because the person receiving the love isn't the real us. It's the version we built to be acceptable. Tanjiro Kamado is another example, though gentler. He carries the guilt of his family's death as if it were his fault. He's endlessly empathetic, even to demons, but this, too, is a kind of overcompensation. He apologizes constantly, blames himself for things far beyond his control. He comforts others while denying his own grief. This isn't just virtue, it's survival. Because for many of us, being good was how we avoided abandonment. It's being useful, it's being agreeable. We learned to earn love, not receive it freely. But Adler believed true healing comes not from achievement, but courage. The courage to live authentically, to risk being disliked, to say, I matter, even if I'm not impressive today. Killua, again, shows us what this shift can look like, okay? When he stops chasing strength, when he starts protecting God not to be worthy, but because he chooses to, he begins to heal, he begins to rest, he begins to feel. The same can be said of Todoroki when he reclaims his fire, not as a weapon, but as a piece of himself, not to please his father or to fight All Might's shadow, but because he chooses to. This is Adler's concept of teleology. We're not just shaped by our past. We're driven by the future we want to create. Healing isn't about fixing old wounds perfectly. It's about choosing a new direction, despite them. And that begins with dropping the armor. It's not all at once, not recklessly, but gradually, gently. It's to say, I am tired of trying to be more. I want to be enough. Alfred Adler believed every child starts life feeling small in a big world. The moment we realize we're weaker than adults, slower than siblings, less skilled than heroes on a screen, a seed of inadequacy is planted. Most of us grow out of it through belonging, through the warmth of you matter, just as you are. But when that belonging is withheld or made conditional, the seed mutates into a lifelong terror of being ordinary. Modern culture weaponizes that terror. Algorithms reward the loudest, sparkliest, most mind-blowing version of everything. Schools rank us, jobs promote us, social media spotlights only our highlights. We internalize the story. If I'm not remarkable, I'm invisible. Okay, and so we hustle, chasing grades, bodies, titles, aesthetics, hoping to outrun the whisper. You're forgettable. No anime character embodies this dread more quietly than Killua Zodic. Born into a legendary assassin family, he's lethal at 12. But inside, he's a child terrified of being ordinary. Why? Because in the Zodic household, ordinary equals useless. If you're not the best, you don't belong. So Killua perfects his skill set. He's witty, agile, untouchable in a fight. Yet the more strength he accumulates, the more fragile he feels. Every time someone praises him, relief flashes across his eyes, followed by deeper dread. What if one day I fail? Adler called this the fictional final goal and imagined future self who'll finally be enough. Killua's goal: be indispensable to God. If he can outmatch every threat, maybe he'll keep the one friendship that makes him feel alive. But the irony, Adler would note, is that love earned through superiority never calms the inferiority beneath it. It only magnifies the fear of slipping. Contrast Killua with Tanjiro Kamado. Kanjiro is not the strongest swordsman. His techniques are learned, not innate. What sets him apart is nothing exceptional. He's simply present, attentive, human, and that's his power. He isn't chasing superiority. He's embodying social interest. Tanjiro proves meaning isn't monopolized by the extraordinary. Caring deeply can be a life's purpose all by itself. For viewers who fear mediocrity, Tanjiro is a balm. He whispers, you can matter in the mundane. You can be loved without being the biggest or best. Yet many of us find Tanjiro's lesson hard to swallow. We've worn the gifted kid, top student, or family fixer label so long that stepping off the pedestal feels like plunging into obscurity. We forget that Adler warned, the steeper our ladder to superiority, the further the fall into shame. Signs, the fear of ordinariness is running your life. All or nothing motivation. If you can't be great, you quit. It's a constant comparison. Your mood rises or falls with others' achievements. It's imposter flashes. Praise feels temporary. Critique feels fatal. It's inability to rest. Downtime equals danger. Busyness equals identity. If this resonates, remember Adler's antidote: community feeling. We heal the inferiority complex not by becoming extraordinary, but by realizing everyone feels small sometimes, and that's what binds us, not what dooms us. Ask gently, where did I first learn that being ordinary was shameful? Whose approval was I chasing? And what might ordinary but whole look like today? Because when belonging replaces comparison, mediocrity isn't a verdict, it's freedom. Adler's teleology is easy to oversimplify as future goals. In truth, it's quieter. It's the felt sense that every action or inactions serves an imagined destination. Even withdrawal can be teleological. If I never try, I'll never fail. So, when a child learns I'm only valuable if I win, their every motion bends toward victory grades, sports, relationships, until they forget any other horizon exists. The moment Shoto rekindles his fire technique, two things shift. External shift. He now wields balanced combat power. Internal shift. The burning half-heed exiled returns, granting emotional warmth, forgiveness toward his mother, nuance toward his father. Adler would call this an upward reorientation. Energy once trapped in superiority aims now flows into authenticity aims. Todoroki doesn't become less driven. He becomes self-directed. Watch how Killua's posture changes once he accepts that God cares for him. Shoulders drop. Jaw unclenches. The teleological goal slides from prove my usefulness to protect what I love. Compulsion gives choice. Fear gives interest. That pivot frees Killua to rest, joke, even reveal weakness. In Adlerian therapy, clinicians call this a goal corrections, swapping a superiority goal for a social interest goal. Reiki, once obsessed with keeping up with Langa, Reiki nearly quits skating. Only when he reframes skating as joy, not status, does growth resume. Ritsuko. Her death metal karaoke vent sessions are teleological to temporary superiority. K. Fantasy that eventually shifts toward a healthier social assertion. Ask yourself, if I achieve my goal tomorrow, what feeling do I expect to gain? Then ask, is there a smaller, humbler practice connection, rest, art that already gives me a hint of that feeling? That's Illyrian rerouting, from grand achievement to daily belonging. Western self-help often sells growth as a ladder. Adler's lens is more spiral. We circle our inferiority themes repeatedly, each time with slightly more awareness. Todoroki revisits his family trauma in multiple arcs. K. Each revisit integrates a bit more shadow. Growth is not about reaching the summit of uniqueness. It's about coming home again and again to the values that make you feel quietly alive. A star does not compete with other stars, just shines. K. Adlerian paraphrase Bakugo's apology is world-shaking precisely because it's small. One sentence dismantles years of armor. I bullied what I feared in myself. K. By naming his shame aloud, he releases it. The superiority for Kade deflates, and in its place stands a boy who can finally accept help. Tanjiro, offering a hand to a crying demon. No audience, no glory, just empathy. Hinata practicing serves alone in an empty gym, enjoying the motion for its own sake. Mob choosing to confess his feelings, knowing rejection is possible, yet trusting his worth regardless. These micro-acts demonstrate Adler's social interest, the courage to live cooperatively, not competitively. Try this journal prompt. My secret fantasy is that once I underscore, I'll finally feel underscore. Then gently ask, could you grant yourself a taste of that future feeling now through community, rest, creativity, therapy, spiritual practice, or simple self-talk? Accepting enoughness isn't the end of ambition. It purifies ambition. It's ambition before wholeness equals I must outrun shame. It's ambition after wholeness equals I want to express what's inside me. Observe Tanjiro's sword mastery. He trains relentlessly after accepting his ordinariness. The drive remains, but the desperation is gone. Encouragement over praise. Instead of "you're amazing," tell yourself, I see the courage it took just to start. Encouragement fuels belonging. Praise fuels comparison. Community, micro-action. Share a vulnerable truth with someone safe. Adler maintained the quickest path out of inferiority is connection, not accomplishment. You do not have to erase insecurity to be worthy. Insecurity is a signal like hunger. You feed it with presence, not perfection. Wholeness doesn't mean you feel complete. It means you stop amputating the parts of you that feel incomplete. Take a breath. Feel the chair beneath you, the floor under your feet, the ordinary rhythm of your heart. You are not a redemption arc in progress. You are not a failure waiting to be fixed. You do not have to turn your life into a spectacular before and after to be worth the space you take up. The world tells you to brand yourself, to level up, to perpetually optimize. But branding is for products. You are a person. People are allowed to be inconsistent, allowed to rest, allowed to wake up one day craving greatness and the next craving quiet. Alfred Adler never asked his clients to become extraordinary. He asked them to become socially interested, to lean into community, courage, and contribution. Not from the top of a podium, but from the everyday ground we all share. Lukabako's single, trembling apology. Look at Killua's first honest smile. Look at Todoroki rediscovering warmth, at Tanjiro tending a wounded stranger in the woods. None of these moments broke world records, yet each was revolutionary in the inner landscape of the one who chose it. You're allowed to grow slowly. You're allowed to just be a person. You don't have to finish the novel this year. You don't have to outshine your peers. You don't have to prove your healing by posting milestones online. Real growth is often invisible. It's a private shift from I have to I choose to. From what will they think, to what feels true. from I must be special to I'm safe to be ordinary. And yes, some days you'll backslide into proving, comparing, performing. That's human. The task is not to eradicate those impulses. It's to notice them and return again and again to the gentler road. Remember, you are already enough the day you were born. Every star in the sky shines differently, yet none outshines the others. They simply share the night. Your worth is not an award to earn, it's a fact to honor. So, wherever you are on your spiral of becoming, may you grant yourself the kindness Adler fought for, the courage to feel small and still move, to feel ordinary and still matter, to belong, not because you're extraordinary, but because you're here. If anything in this video stirred something, Bakugo's fear, Killua's relief, Todoroki's thaw, Tanjiro's steady heart, share that moment in the comments. Naming it is an act of integration. It turns feeling into understanding. And if there's another character or story whose hidden psychology you'd like us to explore, let us know. Your voice shapes this space. You're part of the conversation, part of the belonging Alfred Adler believed could heal the deepest inferiority. We'll see you in the next reflection. Until then, may you rest in the radical truth that you are already whole, even as you continue to grow.